I want to welcome you to our special assembly where we are going to have a special talk from a special guest. The first two times I introduced her, I had great pleasure in introducing her. But after listening to her talk twice, today I have the greatest pleasure of introducing our guest speaker. She is going to speak to us about mental health awareness related to eating disorders. I think this is a topic or a subject that we must all be interested in because the numbers of young men and women suffering from eating disorders is rising every day. Our guest is not a stranger to our school. She is our former student. In fact, I used to teach her computer science, and she was one of my top students in computer science. She completed her IGCSEs with us, and then left for the UK to Brentwood High School for an IB program. With her new high school, she quickly settled in and she became the vice captain of their swimming team. She was also heavily involved in their musical activities, and she played the first horn for 2 orchestras. After this summer holiday, she's heading to the US, Purdue University, to pursue a double major in dietetics and fitness. Boys and girls, join me in welcoming Felicia Chan.
Hi everyone, it's really weird to be back here, standing up here talking to you guys when I know most of you. So I'm Felicia, as Mr. Andrea said, and I'm here today to talk about mental health and eating disorders. So normally when people think about mental health, it's usually like OCD, depression, anxiety, and things like that. But not a lot of people are aware that eating disorders are also a type of mental disorders, and they should be taken seriously. So what we see on social media all the time are posts and pictures like these. These models and celebrities have what people generally think as the ideal body type. And remember like the A4 paper challenge, where you put a piece of A4 paper in front of your waist, and if it covers your waist, then you're slim enough. Think about it. Why is it like we're so stupid to let a piece of paper define how beautiful we are and how healthy we are? It just doesn't make sense. And then you think about it, these celebrities and models that have the ideal body type is only representative of a very small percentage of the population. Not a lot of us actually look like that. I want to, but I'm about 30 centimeters too short, so you know. So why is it so representative of beauty when only so little people have it? Genetics play a big role in how we look, so how tall we are, our bones, and stuff like that. And some things we can't change, and if we force ourselves to look like that and look in a way that our body is not naturally supposed to, then that's when you can get eating disorders really easily. So I'm going to talk about a few common types of eating disorders. An eating disorder is an unhealthy obsession over your body image, your body weight, or the food that you eat. So there are lots of different eating disorders, but these are usually the most common types of eating disorders. The first type is called bulimia. It's when people binge eat. So binge eating is when you eat a very large amount of food at one time until you are painfully full or until you are sick. And when the food is put in front of you, you can't control the amount that you eat. And after that, you feel disgusted, you feel sick, and you're in pain. So you try to punish yourself by purging, which is to get rid of all the food or the calories that you just ate. It can be done by putting your fingers down your throat to make yourself vomit. It can be done by taking pills to make you go to the bathroom. You can exercise to burn off all the calories, and a lot of other things you can do. Binge eating disorder is the second type, and it's very similar to bulimia. It's when you also eat a lot of food at one sitting, and you can't control how much you eat. The difference is you don't purge afterwards. So it can lead to obesity and a lot of weight gain. Besides that, it also leads to a lot of mental distress because you feel disgusted and ashamed of what you just did, and yeah, it's not good on you mentally. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about anorexia, which is the eating disorder that I suffered from. Anorexia is when you have a distorted body image. You think that you're really fat and overweight, even though if you're not, or if you're underweight. So you try to lose as much weight as possible to keep your weight as low as possible. It doesn't have to be a number on the scale. It can be also how you look. So like I have to have a flat stomach and like at the abs. So, but once I take it to that point, I may go further and further, and that's when anorexia gets really serious. This is achieved by over-exercising and by not eating enough calories, so you put yourself in a very big calorie deficit. So here's some statistics to prove that I'm not making any of this up. So 70 million is the number of people worldwide who suffer from eating disorders. This is according to the American National Eating Disorder Association. 13% of youth is suspected to experience some kind of symptoms of an eating disorder before they reach the age of 20. This is according to a study conducted over 8 years, published in the Journal of Abnormal Psychology. It is believed that between 0.5 to 3% of Chinese people suffer from eating disorders, according to Dr. Yu Hao, which is a specialist in endocrinology, the study of hormones. 1% of adolescents, so 1% of young people, young females suffer from anorexia. This is according to a study published in the National Institute of Mental Health. And I don't think this number is over-exaggerated or anything, because I personally know at least 4 or 5 people who have gone through the same sickness that I have or is currently going through it, and I don't know a lot of people. And anorexia and bulimia mostly happens to females, but it can also happen to males too. An estimated 10 to 15% are males, are guys, but experts believe that this number is a lot lower than what is real, and they suspect that it's anything up to 40% because they think guys are less likely to report the disorder and find help because it's generally known as a female disorder, but it's not. It happens to anybody. So people with anorexia are 56 times more likely to commit suicide because it can also cause depression and anxiety, according to a study published in the Journal of General Psychiatry. In one survey, 40% of girls aged 15 think that they are overweight. And out of all the students surveyed, 19% of the students who said they were overweight actually had a normal weight, according to BMI. So BMI is body mass index. It is a measurement of your weight according to your height, proportionate to your height. It is a very, very general guideline, and it's not always accurate, especially for people like athletes and people with other types of illness. But it is a very good guideline that you guys can base yourself off of. And this is according to a research survey in Canada. Hospitalizations for eating disorders in children under the age of 12 years old has increased by 119% between the years 1999 and 2006. That's 7 years. And in general, the incidence of eating disorders has doubled since the 1960s, and it is happening to younger and younger age groups. So lots of experts believe that this is partially due to the influence of technology and social media, because now everybody can see what everybody looks like and is up to. And it's also due to westernization and more food being available to all of us. So now I'm going to talk about the causes of anorexia. It's most common in Western countries, eating disorders, but it's also rising a lot in Asian countries. So a lot of research is done in Western countries, and unfortunately, awareness is still very, very low in Asian countries, and we're not catching up. So we don't have many statistics and many support and help, and that's why I'm here today. So as you can read, those are the causes of anorexia. Pressure and stress, I want to emphasize, it doesn't have to be real pressure and stress. Like for myself, it was pressure and stress that I created for myself, and I'm going to explain that later on. It is also debated to be affected by genetics, but that is, again, still up to debate. Influence from environment and culture, that's very important. So in Asia, particularly in China, we have a very unrealistic image for a perfect body. According to an experiment done by some UK researchers, they gave 18 female graphic designers in 18 different countries a photo of a woman, and they told them to Photoshop her into what they think is the ideal body type that they all want to have. Out of all the photos, China had the most unrealistic body, and she was the thinnest and just unrealistic. Researchers calculated the BMI of the Chinese woman that was photoshopped, and it was 17. So to have a normal BMI, you have to be between 18.5 to 24. And if your BMI is below 17.5, it is considered anorexic. So the woman that had the ideal body type for the graphic designer from China was actually anorexic, and that was considered to be pretty. So that's the society we live in, that pressure especially females, but also males, to look a certain way that is not healthy for our bodies at all. I want to also emphasize here that you don't have to be underweight or have a BMI of 17.5 to be considered anorexic. As long as you are displaying the symptoms, you are considered anorexic, and that's something that I want to say, because once you go below that BMI or are underweight, sometimes it's already very serious, the illness. Yeah. So that was me, 2015, I was 13, I was 40 kilograms, I was a bit underweight, but considered healthy. That's when I got my first phone, and a lot of friends also got their first smartphones. I started using social media. Now, I'm not saying that smartphones or social media is bad. It is good, and it is addictive, and I use it all the time, but it's just that we have to be careful of what we believe on social media. So there are a lot of advertisements for fat diets, weight loss tips, before and after photos of people who've lost weight. And of course, I looked at those websites and photos and I believed them. At the same time, many people at school, like here, are talking about losing weight, having a better body, eating healthier, and stuff like that. They were all just joking about and talking and didn't really do anything about it, but being the determined and stubborn person that I was, I actually did something about it. I got convinced that I was overweight. I was underweight, but I thought I was overweight. So I started dieting and exercising more. At first, my weight loss was very successful. I was eating very healthily, I was exercising more, and people praised me about the way I looked. They think I was so fit and so healthy, and the praise made me even more proud of what I was doing, and it motivated me to lose even more weight. But as restrictive dieting and over-exercising continued, alarm bells started going off and everything went downhill very quickly. By April, I was showing all the signs of anorexia. I was making excuses to miss meals, so I would tell people that I was going out with friends for dinner, but I was not. I would probably just sit at the park and wait for the time to be over. I was scheduling activities so that they would clash with mealtime, so that I don't have to eat at home in front of others. I was lying about what I ate and how much I ate. I was spitting up food when nobody was looking. I convinced myself that I was full even after the tiniest bit of food. So I would eat an apple and be like, okay, that's enough for dinner tonight. I was telling other people that I was not hungry, even though I was starving. And I convinced slowly my own body that it was not hungry, because food is disgusting and food makes you fat. So my social life became non-existent, because normally if you go out with friends, you go get drinks, you go get food. But I can't eat and I can't drink boba tea because that's food. So I stopped going out with friends and I stayed at home or went to some kind of activity, so I didn't have to be in front of other people. I would also have binge eating episodes, so because my body is starving already, and when somebody put food in front of me that I really wanted to eat, I wouldn't be able to control myself, so I would eat all of it, and I would feel really, really sick afterwards, and I would punish myself afterwards. When I overate, I would punish myself by eating even less and exercising more the next day. So I remember one time I was away on a trip with some friends. They left behind a whole bunch of snacks and chocolate bars, and that night I snuck into their room, stole it all, and I ate it. And then I was so sick afterwards, and the next day I ate nothing but an apple the entire day, and I exercised for like 2 hours that day. So I was obsessed with tracking calories. I used more than one. I used like 2 or 3 calorie tracking apps because I had to be absolutely sure that I was eating the lowest amount of calories a day. I only ate fruits and vegetables. I did not eat any grains, and I did not eat any meat unless someone else forced me to, typically my parents. At my most extreme point of dieting, I was eating between 500 to 800 calories a day. Even for people that are obese and trying to lose weight, that is a very, very dangerously low number, and nobody should be eating that little. Just to explain, resting metabolism is the amount of calories that you burn by doing nothing, just to keep your body alive. So if you woke up and laid in bed the whole day and did absolutely nothing, your resting metabolism is the amount of calories that you burn just by doing that. For a person like me right now, I'm quite short, it's about 1,200 to 1,300 calories per day. An active teenager like I was, going to class, doing sports and everything, should be eating 2,000 to 2,400 calories a day. I was eating 500. To put it into perspective, an apple, medium-sized apple, is about 90 calories. And 1 cup of cooked rice, which is the size of your fist about, is 200 calories. I was eating 500. It's really, really low. So all that dieting suddenly caused my weight to drop. At first, when I lost weight, I wore really tight clothes to show off my body. And after that, I just switched to wearing really baggy trousers and sweaters because nothing fits anymore. My hair started falling off, so I couldn't tie up my hair. And people were really disgusted with me. When you look like that, nobody wants to be your friend. It caused me to completely lose my confidence, and I became even more socially withdrawn. I didn't want to go to school at all, but of course I had to because, it's school. At that time, I was really mentally unstable as well. I was always obsessed over food. I couldn't concentrate in lessons because I was always thinking, when is the next time I can eat? When is lunchtime? How many calories will my lunch be? What is my lunch? How many minutes of exercise do I have to do afterwards to burn off all the calories? I was always focusing on that, so I couldn't concentrate in lessons. I was really sluggish in thinking, and I had really a lot of difficulty concentrating. And that's actually really dangerous because our brain is an organ that cannot store a lot of energy. It runs on glucose, and as you all know, if you don't eat, there's no glucose. So my brain isn't getting enough energy to actually function properly. So that's really dangerous. My family and friends tried to help me by saying that I was sick and needed help, but of course I was in denial. I didn't want to believe that. Nobody wants to believe that they are sick. So even though I was barely able to function physically, I was still terrified of gaining weight. I was constantly checking myself in the mirror to make sure I had a flat stomach, and I was constantly checking my weight on the scale to make sure I was still the same weight as like 15 minutes before. I was terrified of gaining weight even though I was barely able to function. Slowly, my life was falling apart, and I've always wanted to study overseas, but that dream was quickly disintegrating because I couldn't go overseas looking like that, and I couldn't take care of myself properly. I remember walking up the stairs to my homeroom at that time, so Form 3B, and I almost fainted because I was that weak. I was confused and sluggish all the time. As I mentioned, my brain wasn't getting enough energy, and I was so cold all the time. Because if I look like that, there's no fat, so there's no insulation, and I was so cold. But I remember going to training, so I trained in water polo and swimming at that time. I still did. And I couldn't stay in the pool for more than 30 minutes because my lips were going blue and I was chattering, and training was 90 minutes. So there's really no point in me going to training. But no matter how tired and cold I was, I still forced myself to do some kind of exercise. It was either swimming, water polo, running, or just working out. But at that point, I really couldn't even enjoy sports anymore. there's no muscle left in me. I was literally a bag of bones and skins. So I had no performance. When people told me to stop exercising, I would throw a tantrum, ignore them, and then still run out the door to exercise. I was really close to being pulled out of school and put into a mental hospital. But that should actually have happened a long time ago before I started looking like that and reached that stage in symptoms. My symptoms were fatal at that point. My brain was not getting enough nutrients and energy to sustain any kind of higher level brain function. I had brittle bones that could break easily, and my body was running on basically nothing. I could have gone into multi-system organ failure, and that would have been fatal. But again, there's not enough support and awareness in Macau and just this area in general about eating disorders. So people just told me to eat more and eat more. Like, why don't you eat more? Food is good, food is delicious. But to me, food is disgusting. And it doesn't work like that. Eating disorders, it's like telling a blind person to try and look harder than they will see. But it doesn't work that way. Eating disorders are not something that we control, and it's not a lifestyle choice. It's not the person's fault at all. Yes, it is their choice to start dieting and exercising, but once they are past the point, they cannot control it anymore. And they need professional help and intervention to recover. It's not just their fault that they decide to look that way. Nobody decides that they want to look that way. Like, you won't tell a person with cancer that it's their fault they have cancer. It's the same thing. And so it's something that I really want to emphasize as well, that eating disorders are not a person's fault. Something is seriously mentally wrong with them and they need a doctor's help. At the end of 2016, I knew I had to do something. So the first picture is 2016 when I went to Oceania and Asian championships for sailing. And I really shouldn't have gone at that point. I was really weak, I was not eating, and I really shouldn't be doing any kind of sports at all. But of course I threw a tantrum, so I still went because I'm just that stubborn. But at that point I knew I had to do something. I couldn't go on living like this. The road to recovery was really long and painful. I saw 2 psychologists. I saw so many specialist doctors. I don't even remember most of their faces anymore at this point. I spent a lot of time in hospitals, and I'm pretty sure my parents spent a lot of money in hospitals. I got so many tests and scans done, some of which were scary. I was put on antidepressant medicine. I was put on hormone medicine. But even though I was getting so much treatment, I was still horrified of putting on weight. The idea of food still disgusted me, and I still didn't want to gain weight because I wasn't happy with my body, but I wanted to stay skinny. But at that point, I was tired of being tired. I was tired of the pitying and disgusting looks that people gave me. I was tired of not being able to wear the clothes I want to wear. I was tired of not being able to do the sports I wanted. I was tired of not being able to travel because my family refused to take me anywhere. And I was tired of feeling like a failure. That one hit home the most. I was raised by my parents, by teachers, by everyone around me to grow up to be a successful woman who would achieve her dreams, go overseas to studies and everything like that. But here I am, looking like that, being a failure to everyone. It just felt so bad. So that was one motivation. Recovery was very emotional. So one of the reasons for anorexia is that we don't know how to cope with pressure. And for me personally, that was not real pressure. It was pressure I created for myself. I felt that I had to be the best at everything, and I had to live up to everybody's expectation. I felt that I had to get the best grades. I have to keep my position as the best sailor in Team Macau. I have to be the best player in band. I have to be able to pass my grade 8 piano exam with a distinction. I have to be the best water polo player. I had to be best at every single thing I did, and I did a lot of things. So that all created some imaginary pressure that I put myself under. So I had to learn to stop caring so much about what everybody else said and listen to myself. I had to understand that the things I do is for myself and not for other people. I didn't have to do anything to get people's praise. I had to do it because I love it personally. And that was a really hard lesson to learn because I grew up always wanting other people's praise and approval, and because people expected me to do something, so I'll do something, and that's something that I had to learn to stop doing. I relapsed many times on my road to recovery. A relapse is when you go back to your old habits and you start like not eating and losing weight again. And I couldn't shake the habit of counting calories. I still kept all the apps. I was making sure I was eating like 1,000 calories or something every day. It was something that I really struggled in trying to stop. But it was small things that I used as motivation to recover, like getting off antidepressants, stopping my psychologist sessions, fitting into old clothes, and for me, most powerful of all was sports. So I think 2017, I went to the Optimist World Championships, and at that point, I was like in recovery, and I was able to perform a lot better than last year when I went to the other championships. So that was a big motivation for me, because I can finally do some kind of sports again. It took me an entire year to gain back what I lost, and I hovered around 40 kilograms, but then I relapsed again. It was the summer of 2018, so that first picture is right before I left Mac. That was Form 4 Activity Week. And I started skipping meals and eating very little again, because I felt that I'd gained too much weight at that point, even though I was still underweight. But I just felt disgusted in myself. So my weight dipped back to like 37, 38 kilograms. Afterwards, I left for the UK, and within the first 3 months, I have gained 10 kilograms. Even for a normal person, 10 kilograms to gain in 3 months is a lot. For someone like me, who was so horrified of gaining weight and so obsessed over the way I looked, it was terrifying. It was like I was trapped in my worst nightmare and I couldn't wake up from it, because I can't lose 10 kilograms in a day. But ironically, that was the first time that I was considered not underweight in my life. I went back to the UK, and I even managed to run my first half marathon for charity, and I was feeling a lot more energetic than before. I was able to train, I was able to wake up and go to school and then train without forcing myself to, and I wasn't sleepy all the time. And I was actually happy for once. When I came back home for Christmas, a lot of people said I was healthier and a lot happy looking, but I still thought I was too fat, and I started skipping meals again. When I came home for Easter in April, I went to a nutritionist, and what she said to me stopped me from dieting for good. And I have not dieted until right now, because I don't see the need to. I had to reteach my body how to feel full and how to feel hungry. It's even worse than a baby. At least a baby knows how to stop eating when it's full and cry when it's hungry. My body didn't know how to do that, because I've been starving it for so long. So at first, when I was trying to do that, I would binge eat, because I didn't know when was full. So I would feel really sick afterwards. So I would starve myself, because I didn't know when was hungry. And it was a very, very difficult thing to do. But eventually, I managed to reteach my body when to start eating and when to stop eating. So now I'm going to talk about some long-term consequences of anorexia. Our bodies are very, very smart, and it knows how to go into survival mode when there's not enough energy for our bodies. It switches off all unnecessary functions to keep the body alive. And if the body stays in that state for a very long time, like mine was, it damages the metabolism. The body learns how to slow down metabolism to preserve energy, and it learns to store and hold onto any kind of nutrients that it gets in the form of fat. So yeah, that's what happened to me, and it's still happening, and it's a work in progress. Your brain not getting enough energy can also affect the mental growth. I had to get an MRI for my brain, because doctors were scared that my brain didn't develop properly, which luckily it did, so yeah. For girls, your menstruation stops, and it's called amenorrhea. And for guys, your testosterone levels drop, and you know what that means. Your body, when it doesn't get enough energy, it knows that it already can't sustain another life inside of you, because if it can't sustain yourself, there's no point in operating any of the systems that make sustaining another life possible. So I was put on long-term hormone medication, which is called hormone replacement therapy, and it's typically used for women going through menopause, but it's also used for people going through anorexia. And I have been on that medication for almost 4 years. Because my reproductive organs, and actually any organs, could not develop when it was supposed to, I had to take the medicine, which is progesterone, to help all the organs develop afterwards. And that has a lot of consequences by itself as well. The medication itself increases risk of cancer, and the medication, losing weight, gaining weight, and everything really messes up your the body's hormones level, and that affects still my body a lot. I have gained 19 kilograms since I went to the UK in September 2018, which is super scary for me. I had to change out all the clothes in my wardrobe so many times because I kept growing out of them. I'm pretty sure my mom is broke by now by going shopping with me. The body is really tough at adapting to survive, but the systems inside are very delicate. A very tiny change can cause a lot of long-term consequences. Most people have positive things to say about my weight gain, but there are also a lot of people, like you'd be surprised at how many people have told me that I was too fat now and I should lose some weight. They would be like, oh yeah, your arm is fat, you have some stomach fat, so you should probably lose some weight now, even though they know what I've gone through. I admit that I am a bit above the average, what is called the average weight for my height, but you know, if I'm happy and healthy, that's all that matters. The number, an average, is just a number, and it doesn't apply to everybody. We all have different bodies, we all have different lifestyles, and that single number shouldn't be used to define us. A number on the scale or size in clothes should not be used to define who I am, and it should not be used to define who you are either. As long as we are healthy and happy, that's all that matters. I don't know if I can fully recover from an experience like this. It has definitely left its scars and marks. From almost being hospitalized and force-fed by a feeding tube a few years ago, to running my first half marathon, to performing in musicals in the UK, to getting distinction awards in music, to standing here today and speaking to all of you. My life has been a roller coaster. Yes, it is traumatizing, and I will forever carry the scars that I got from this experience, but it also shaped me into who I am today. I have learned so much from this experience. Ironically, this whole thing has made me really, really interested in nutrition and fitness. So I will be going to study dietetics and nutrition in the USA very soon. Some people ask me if I'm ashamed of my experiences or am I too embarrassed to talk about it, which obviously not, I'm here. But sometimes I'm not proud of what I did to myself. I'm not happy that I did that to myself. Nobody should. But it has already happened, and the past is in the past. I could either choose to hide it and feel guilty about it, or I could choose to learn from it and use my own experience to educate others and show others that it's all right. There's help, there's support, and I wanted to raise awareness. And so I hope that by sharing my experience today, I will help prevent other people and you guys from falling into the same trap that I did. And yeah, our world is developing, and it is time that we learn about the new dangers that our generations have to face. Yes, eating disorders have been around for a very long time, but it is rising in numbers in the past few decades, and it was something that our grandmothers and our mothers didn't have to even think about. So I'm here today to tell you guys all about it, and so you guys know about the dangers that our generations have to face. So if you need help, please talk to someone. Don't keep it to yourself. It can be friends, it can be family, it can be a teacher, counselors, anything. Just don't keep it to yourself like I did. It will only make it worse. So this is my email and my Instagram account. I'm always, if you want to talk about it, and if you want to, well, I can't give you advice because I'm not qualified. But I'm here if you want to talk to, if you want someone to talk to. And I also have a few links to websites that you can read up about and see if you need help or something like that. Informative websites that I will leave Mr. Andrea, and he will send it out to all of you. But yeah, that's about it. Thank you.
Felicia, you have given this talk 3 times in as many weeks. And each time you give your talk, it gets better and better and more inspiring for you to go through what you've gone through and come back here, stand in front of our students and also in front of your brother and share your story the way you've done is remarkable. It can only be done by someone who is amazing, someone who is wonderful, someone who is brave, courageous and intelligent. I can't thank you enough for sharing your experiences with us. I don't think it's many people that can go through what you've gone through and stand in front of people and share that. I don't think if I've gone through what you've done, I can stand in front of people and share that story. So I want to thank you, and you deserve a second round of applause.
Thank you. I just want to add on to what Mr. Andrea said and thank Felicia for her time and sharing such a moving and meaningful life experience with us all. And students, you are very lucky today and fortunate to be able to get first-hand experience and information and advice from a fellow student. It's not every day that you have this experience. So I hope you treasure this time. I've sat through the assemblies the second time now, and every time it's still meaningful. It drives such an important message home. And the message that Felicia's left with you today, two things. You need to be happy and you need to be healthy. And if you're not those two things, do reflection on yourself, and if you're not able to help yourself, seek help. Okay? When Felicia emailed me about this opportunity, I immediately said yes, because it's such an important message that you need to hear. So thank you so much, Felicia. And let me tell you, I've witnessed the challenges that you've had over the years, and all I can tell you, you look great. All right? So well done on overcoming that. Thank you so much.